Oh, good afternoon, everyone. We will be getting started here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to give everyone probably another minute to join. So we will get started here in just a second. Okay, so I think we will go ahead and get started. So, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this informational webinar for the 2025 HUD Innovation in Affordable Housing Student Design and Planning Competition. My name is Jill McAninch, and I work for SHOTS Strategy Group. We are an independent contractor that works with HUD to help coordinate and plan the logistics for the competition. Before we get started, I'd like to just go over a few housekeeping items. Our partners from HUD are going to do introductions and provide remarks, and then they're going to provide an overview of the competition. After the overview, we will address any questions you have about the competition. This webinar is being recorded, and we will provide a playback link to everyone that is registered for the webinar within 24 hours. We will also put the replay link on the IAH website. So one last note, the webinar is specifically for PHAs and TDHEs. While we're happy to have anyone join us, we'll only be answering questions that are specific to those groups. If you are from a university, feel free to put your question in the Q&A and we'll follow up via email, but we won't be addressing those questions in this webinar. You can also put your questions down in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen of your Zoom window. And my colleague Lauren will be reviewing those questions. She will ask them of us, we'll respond, and then we'll also put the answers in that Q&A box. So I am going to hand the mic over to Jagruti Reiki. She is a social science analyst in the Affordable Housing Research and Technology Division in the Office of Policy Development and Research at HUD. She is the competition director and has been involved with the competition for the past 6 years. So, Jagruti, you can go ahead and take the mic.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know we gave you just a couple weeks notice for the webinar. This is our 12th year of partnering with a PHA or a tribal entity to help us man the student competition. It was developed so that we could, one, provide a PHA or a tribal entity or our partner in general with some information and design opportunities coming out of some schools or graduate programs across the nation. But the dual purpose of this whole competition is also to create some depth of knowledge within the students who will be going into the housing space after they graduate from graduate school. So with that, we're really grateful for you to join us today for this informational webinar. And then we hope that you would also consider submitting an application to partner with HUD for the 2025 season, which will go from October and ends in April 18th during our final event, which is held at HUD headquarters here in DC. Jill, would you mind going to the next one, please? The competition was created for students, so graduate students across the nation, to encourage both innovation, so think outside of the box, to think about kinds of designs that we want our public housing or tribal entities or housing, affordable housing should look like, to build future capacity among practitioners. So as folks or as students graduate from graduate degrees in urban planning and sustainable practices in engineering, to really think about all of those disciplines through a lens of affordable housing and creating communities that are sustainable and long lasting. And then really because of the way the teams are created, we're going to foster interdisciplinary teamwork. So we are asking urban planning students to work with engineers, to work with economists or public policy folks to understand that the affordable housing crisis that we're facing currently, we are going to be is going to require really a multidisciplinary approach. So it's going to require good housing, but it's also going to require housing that is thoughtful, it develops community, it promotes healthy housing, but is embedded within a larger cultural context. So this year, the 12th year, we have decided that from now on, for the next 5 years, we will be discussing or we will be describing what the competition is about. Usually what has happened for the first 12 years was that a PHA will send us an application, we would review it, and then we would pick the PHA based on information that they've written and their need. And that would be the theme of the competition. This year, the theme is going to be designing for disasters, which is very appropriate given both the hurricanes. And if anyone is from Florida, I hope that you're all safe and hope speedy recovery. The competition is going to focus on designing for disasters, and the application is going to ask for information about what disaster you anticipate for your housing, for your vulnerable population, what do you think you can do, and we will gather that information and provide it to the students to come up with ideas on how we can mitigate for those disasters. Disasters could be anywhere from flooding, wind, tornadoes, snow events, extreme heat. And so we're going to leave that open to whoever wants to partner with us. Jill, the next slide, please. Like I said, this is the 12th year we've been doing it. We've been asked not to change the way that the competition works. In essence, we will invite graduate students. We just had a conversation with graduate students and their faculties to ask them to apply for, to create teams and work with us for our partnering agency. And now we're asking you guys to see whether or not you would want to participate with us. We are, the role of the partnering agency really is to provide us with a real world housing challenge that you are facing related to disasters. And it could also be more than just disasters. So it could be that you have a vacant lot that you want to design multifamily units, or you want to increase density, but you want to do so understanding the disasters that may be hitting your area or that you are working on mitigating. The benefit really of partnering with us is that we do end up getting some very creative solutions, some solutions that are out of the box thinking. It gives you some other way of thinking about possible designs for affordable housing for the location that you have identified, and gives you information that you can use for RFPs for when you go out trying to look for developers. We ask our partners to define the parameters of the competition. So we're going to ask our partners exactly what you want to develop. Is it a vacant lot? Is it a current housing? Do you want the housing to remain? What are the big issues facing the housing unit? Do you want more density? What other issues you're facing? And then we will also ask them, like, what are your goals? We would put all of this information in a guide that we provide to the students, and then that is what we will judge those student designs towards. Jill, we could move. So how this works is we will invite, or teams of 3 to 5 graduate students will submit an initial project proposal. It would include a description a narrative description. So once you have provided us with your design needs, we will put it into a design guide. We will send it out to the students and they have to respond to that information. So whatever you give us, we will provide to the students. So, background information about your units or that particular site, if that site is existing, like what issues, all of that information is packaged up, given to the students. They have to respond to your needs. They will create an initial design. So we get like 30, say, students, 30 student teams. They will all give us a narrative description of how they would go about addressing the challenges that you have described. They will give us blueprints. So if they provide new housing, what cladding they will use, like what the units will look like, where the sun will come, what kinds, they would have to do all of that. And then they will have to provide us with a pro forma, with the understanding that, if they propose a $30 million building, they have to understand that the PHA or the partnering agency has to be able to remain afloat and make that $30 million payment. So they're going to have to tell us what their sources of income are, how they will raise the funding, what kinds, if they're using LIHTC or other grant programs within your area, all of that information. All of that information is then packaged and provided to 5 professionals and who are designated as jurors. The jurors are given all 30 of them. It's a blind review. They review them, and then they come together and pick the top 4, or the top 10 are picked, and then they discuss sometimes very lengthy discussions on who the top 4 would be from the top 10. The finalist teams will then come to our partnering agency site sometime in March. We will figure that out with the partnering agency and their staff to further refine their submissions. By that, we mean that we might want to hold a design charrette with residents or your resident councils to figure out what they need for that site. Where we will talk to any kind of experts that you identify, and we will work with you to come up with a 2-day site visit plan as well. The jurors, the finalist team, then travel to Washington, D.C. for the final competition event that's held here in D.C. at our headquarters in Biola Plaza on 7th Street for the presentations and the award ceremony. And whoever attends from the partnering agency, so if it's the executive director or the lead, we ask them to provide some opening comments as well during the competition. The competition is held in front of a live audience, so mostly it's HUD leadership and HUD folks from PIH, so Public and Indian Housing or ONAP. They'll just come, listen, and sometimes give us some ideas on how to improve it, but mainly just to understand what the competition and what students are providing our partners. The winning team is selected during that final event, and they receive $25,000. The next team, so the second place team or the runner-up, receives $15,000, and then the 2 remaining teams, the ones that have 3rd and 4th place, get $1,000. The reason I think that's important to you is we ask our partnering agency if there are universities around them that they have a relationship with. We would then ask Jill and Lauren to go and try to see if we can recruit students directly from there as well. We're always looking for students. We are always looking for providing diverse opportunities or getting diverse voices to put designs out so that we're being more thorough with what is being presented. Jill? So partnering with us is, it's a lot of fun, I will say, but there is a lot of work we also require from the PHA. We would need a point of contact so that Jill and I and Lauren and Elena can coordinate with them, which basically means providing the site briefing information, talking about what the site planning will look like. So when we come for 2 days, we have to make sure that we have the right experts in the building. And then we want to make sure that if possible, somebody from the partnering agency also comes to the opening ceremony. We will also require names of stakeholders from the partnering agency, so staff members, community planners, local architects, to serve as potential jurors. Because like I said, there is a group of 5 jurors plus an alternate that look at all of the designs, and they vet to the top 4, and then the top 4 to the winner. And we want to make sure that we are providing the local context. So if we can get 3 jurors that are local, we will find the other 2 to round up the panel of jurors. So if we have, you know, a urban planner and an architect, maybe we just get an engineer or something of that sort. So we make sure that the jurors are pretty well rounded and pretty well known. And so we would ask that you provide us with names of 3 stakeholders. Now, it would be great if somebody from the PHA wants to be a juror, but that also means that that PHA staff person can no longer participate during the site visit, because we want to make sure that the students don't know who the jurors are. I should have said the initial review, so to dwindle down from 30 to 10 to 4 is also done blind. So when Elena and I review them, we also don't know who the only person that knows which graduate school that came from is Jill and her team. Elena and I and the jurors don't know. And Elena and I do not, so HUD staff are not jurors, and we don't participate in picking the final 10 either, or the final 4 for that matter. Once we announce who the PHA is that was selected, within 2 weeks of the selection, we have to start this whole process, because we have a very tight deadline, as Jill will go through, to make sure that we're ready for the April 18th competition, the April 18th deadline. And that usually we've already picked that date this far in advance, because the graduate students have to be in graduate school the day of the competition. So if they have graduated before that, they can no longer participate. That's against the rules. And then also, we have to allow for HUD leadership time to make room in their schedule. So, you know, once in a while, the Secretary of HUD would be present, or, you know, PIH politicals or leadership. So we just want to give them ample time to block off that time that day. So that's why we've already picked April 18th as the final day of the final competition, or the day of the final competition, I should say. Okay, so the outreach to graduate schools and the creation of the design issue is going to happen now. So we've already started our outreach to all the graduate schools. We're hoping, because this is designing for disasters, generally we go for architectural schools or urban planning, public policy schools, social sciences. But this year, we're also going to make a considered effort to go after graduate schools, especially construction, sorry, I should have said engineering schools. So construction engineering, or architectural engineering, or mechanical engineering, so that we also make sure that our designs are structurally sound. So that we're going to start that outreach, or we've already started it, but we're going to amp it up. And then we are going to start the design issues. I should have mentioned that as soon as we pick our partnering agency, one of the things we would like them to help us think about is not only the design. So what does the agency want from this competition? So we want to rebuild building X, but we would also like them to tell us, okay, we want to rebuild building X, and these are the 3 criteria that we would like the jurors to keep in mind when they're judging their designs. Generally, we at HUD have picked the 5, and it's been like sustainability, in community building, innovation, but we think that it would be a better product for our partnering agency if you were able to give us some information about how you think we should score the final, all of the design materials we receive from these students. The competition has officially launched. It launched October 1, and we expect to have somebody onboarded by Monday, November 4th. And this is a pretty tight deadline, but once we have announced the winner, or the partner, I should say, of the competition, we start working with them right away, because we have 2 weeks to then come up with all these design materials and criteria so that we can provide it to the students, so they know exactly what they need to design for and what the criteria are the most important for our partners. So November 4th, we announce it. Then we have to let our political staff know. And then we have to go through all of the political machinations to make sure that we announce it to your congressional staff, we announce it to your field staff, all of that. And then hopefully we can put it out on our website within 2 weeks. So we can also help you think about what kind of press releases you want to do for announcing that you were selected. Like I said, the site visit will happen early in March. So after the 2 weeks period, within the 2 weeks of announcement, we will start our conversations. And one of the first conversations we will have is, okay, what are the sites? Give us the materials so we can start putting it together. They all have to be 508 compliant. So we have to do a whole bunch of other stuff on our end to make sure that that material is posted on our website. But simultaneously, we also need to start thinking about when in March we can come visit in March. And as we move forward, we will tell you why that's important. But mostly it has to do with Elena and I making sure that we have availability to travel. We also ask for HUD leadership. Sometimes they want to come. So we just have to make sure that everybody who wants to come can come. And also, we want to make sure that the students have enough time to redesign. So the 4 final teams that we have selected, they have the opportunity after the site visits to redesign. They're welcome to do their entire design over again between till April 16th, when everything is due. So we're just giving them those 4 weeks back, or 5 weeks, to redesign if they think, based on conversations they have with your policy experts and your experts and the students, the residents, whether they want to redesign any part of their blueprint or their narrative. Jill, if we can move. So the completed application, which is already available, is due October 29th of this by noon Eastern time, and no later than. So if you already have your materials and you want to send it in, you can. You just have to email it to IAH@huduser.gov, and Jill will actually email you back, letting you know that we've received it. So if you do not receive the email that says receive, please make sure to ping us again, because it could be that this email address is going into our junk folders, because sometimes it does, and we don't know why, and we don't know how to fix that. So just make sure that if you don't receive an acknowledgement that says that the application was received and we have marked it as received, just make sure that you let us know. Jill, next. Elena, let Elena talk about the application a little bit more, and then we can open it up to questions.
Awesome. So this document is what you'll find on the website, and we're just going to go question by question and walk through it. So the first question, is really, we want to know, is this an existing site that has a property on it? Does the need to be rehabbed? Is it a vacant site that with new construction, a combination? And then there's a space to give some explanation as well. Pretty straightforward. How many acres of the site? And then next might seem random, but we need to know the distance between the proposed site. So not your office or that you work in, but the actual site that is being proposed. And then how close is that to the nearest commercial airport? And what's that airport's name? Okay, thank you. Number 4, so this is really probably the meat and potatoes of where you should spend a lot of your time. Really, so this year we're having a theme on top of, innovation, but we really want to find locations that may be facing some disaster challenges. So, on top of that, writing and then looking at HUD strategic goals. The more you provide here, the better, I feel. And, there's no limit to the narrative. Check out the strategic goals, and if there is more than one, give us information on why you think it's a good match for each one, but at least one. Next, number 5, like here we're really looking for, specific details that higher level on the site. Whether that's zoning, is it, currently zoned for one thing, or is the, site located in a neighborhood that, is mostly single family homes? Is it, on a street that is, major thoroughfare? Just really, special considerations for that site itself. And this last question is about the site visit. So as you already mentioned, after phase 1, after the jurors select the 4 finalist team, we invite all 4 teams out to the site to physically, put their foot on the ground at the site. It changes from, year to year what the site visit looks like, but just keep in mind that 4 teams, at least 2 people from each 4 teams come out, as well as Jill and myself, and Jagruti will also be there, and our boss. And so just really give consideration to if there's capacity for hosting that. Nice, okay. And so those are the 5 questions, pretty straightforward. This is also, this is where you'll send, if there are any current plans that you have of the site, old, new, anything. If you have an RFP out for the site, anything that's surrounding work that's already being done, send that along. So photos, illustrations, blueprints, environmental reviews, whatever, the more the better, I think. Also, so names of stakeholders. So this will be helpful. So of the jurors, we really like to have a local expert. This could be a staff member of your agency, but it could also be a city official. But keep in mind, whoever the juror is, the local juror, all the jurors remain anonymous until the very end and the day of their final presentations. So this person won't necessarily be able to be involved in the same way as the lead would be involved in the activities because they remain anonymous. And at least one, but like 2 or 3 would be great. And yep, I think that's pretty much it. Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll open it up for some questions. These are our emails. Feel free to reach out with any questions. And at any time. And that QR code will take you to the competition website. Great. And Jill, if you want to, and Lauren, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and we'll answer those.
Jill, could you just put up the competition calendar?
Oh,
I
the
should have
time.
just so, I'm sorry, I'll get back on camera. Just so you guys can see the entire timeline.
If we're ready for questions, we do have one in the chat.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Somebody asked where we can access this presentation.
We will make sure that Jill sends it to you via email. It's not online, but the video will be online as soon as we can get it passed through some 508 clearances. But Jill will make sure you get both the video and as well as the presentation.
Okay, looks like that's the only question right now, but if anybody else has any?
I can share that, we encourage the student teams to watch past competitions, but it's also, if you're kind of wondering what you're going to get out of it, what do these designs look like, what are the students proposing, all of our past competitions, final presentations are recorded, and also there's case studies for each one of them. And it kind of gives you an idea of some of the really innovative plans that the students come up with. We've heard from PHAs many times in the past that the level of quality that these students are able to put out is extremely useful and relevant, and something that they would receive from a consultant type deal.
So hopefully everybody can see the scheduling information. As Elena said, we are going to have, did you say already that there's a 10-year retrospective article coming up on what PHAs have told us? That article will be available November 4th? No, sometime in November. I don't know why the 4th is stuck in my head, but it will be in Cityscape.
It looks like we do have another question about where those student recordings are. They asked if they're on YouTube. I know they're on the website, Elena, you mentioned, but are they on YouTube as well?
Yeah, they are YouTube videos. There are links on the IAH website. There's a little tab that says past competitions. And so all of those are linked there.
If I put a link on, where can I put a link so everybody can get it? In chat?
In the chat.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. No, I'm not able to. Maybe
I'll do it.
Oh, okay, thank you. So this is a competition. This is pretty much how the competition is laid out. So just everybody knows, we've opened, you got rid of the, Jill, can you go back to the competition?
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. So the registration opened up for students. So if you know of any graduate students that would like to be part of this competition, please go ahead and send the information. In fact, you know what, we'll just send you this presentation as well, so you can send it to any graduate school professors, or maybe one of you is a professor, you can send it to your graduate school. Site one, so I should say phase one, site information and guidelines and criteria, we hope to release in early November. So while we have already selected the the PHA, a lot of the materials that you will send us will become part of this package, so we can release it fairly quickly without much to do. The deadline for the teams to be finalized is January 8th. So as we mentioned, we needed 3 students. They have to be multidisciplinary. So that we close off the registration early so that Jill can make sure that these teams that did register meet all the requirements. That's per regulation that, you know, they have to be graduate students. They have to go to a school that's accredited. They have to have interdisciplinary fields. They have to be US citizens. At least 3 of them do. So there's a bunch of stuff that Jill has to make sure that they can legally compete. So then the deadline for submitting proposals to us is the 24th. We review them, all of them, Elena and I, Jill and Lauren as well, but we don't do anything with them. We're just reviewing them to understand the scope of what we've got. We also release them to our 5 jurors. And then we announce on February 14th who makes it onto the second phase. We will work on the site visit, and then the final submissions are probably due a few days before, I think probably April 16th. We just haven't updated our website yet. And then the final presentation is definitely going to happen on April 18th, and it's an entire day. Actually, it starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and ends around 5. What we should have said was on April 18th, the additional thing that we've learned, we do a post-event interview with our partners, and our partners give us some really good information. And a couple of years ago, one of them said that they would have really enjoyed just meeting with the teams individually, because they had additional questions that the jurors did not ask, or we only allow jurors 10 minutes to ask questions, and once that 10 minutes is up, it's up, where we have a pretty tight schedule to keep. So at the end of the day, so after the presentations are done and the winner has been announced around 2:15 or so, we find a spot for our partner and anyone representing the partnering agency to sit down with each of the student teams and ask and go through whatever questions they have about the designs. The designs we will give you. So we will give you their blueprints. We will give you any kind of information they give us, so that you can use for future use as well. So. If there are no more questions, we can, we look forward to, are there any more questions, Jill or Lauren?
Yeah, there's no more questions right now.
Great.
Well, thank you. Now, we look forward to working with all or one or some of you, and really are looking forward to, you know, this year's challenge. Every year it gets better and better. And, you know, we thank you for taking the time to come today. Thank you for the time for applying and considering, because it is a partnership and we could not do it without y'all. So thank you.
Thank you all. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, as and we will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.